we took a break for lunch, and we're going to resume our interview on April 30th, 2019 at 1:30 p.m. and same 4 people present. What I'd like to do is I'd like to open it up for just a round table. If anyone in the room has questions, I have 1 or 2 more, but I'll hold mine for the end. But Phil, do you have anything you want to ask Shane about what we've discussed?
No, I don't think so this time. I might think of it later.
Yeah. Well, we all will later. Yeah. But Mike, do you?
We were talking about earlier, you said something about your dad told you about some snow starting, and I think you were talking about it in reference to the, to the, where he was paid by Davis on the one with the $80,000.
No, that wasn't it. What Daddy was talking about, this was out of state.
Okay.
I know it wasn't in Georgia.
We'll cover that one, and then we'll go back to
okay. And he said when he got there to do the job, he said that while he was in the house or in the area, said it started snowing. He said, but after they got in the house, said the snow fell. He said it was almost a foot. He said it was just, and so I know it was a murder. I know it was out of state, but I know the snowfall near about trapped him in the house.
But you have no idea when this was,
It was in the early 70s.
Early 70s.
And I know it was north of Georgia. So.
Okay, so it was up north somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was in the early 70s. Did he say who he killed or how he killed him?
No, he didn't tell me that. I'm sure that he did, but Daddy wouldn't tell the whole story. He'd just tell bits and pieces. And then throughout the day, you might get another bit or piece. Or when you come back, he might give you another bit or piece.
Yeah, I understand, because I experienced the same thing with it myself on a much lesser scale than you did. But even my few conversations with Sunday Birt, if he told me anything, it was just in small bits and pieces. Because he was not one to elaborate on details whatsoever. Mike, what was the case that we were talking about earlier in which you asked Shane about the house case, or we're trying to see if it connects to that?
Well, I asked you about I asked you about the name Lewis House, and you'd recognize the name. You told me you didn't recognize that name. Was there any more? Can you give us any more detail on the one that your dad told you about, that where Davis had paid him on the hit where Davis had actually was making had purchased the property from the guy for the $80,000?
That's absolutely all I know on that.
Okay. Do you know what kind of property it was?
I won't say it was a motel or a hotel.
Okay, it was a motel or hotel. The sale was $80,000.
$80,000.
And they had negotiated a contract and a signature.
That's right. And all the paperwork was signed.
Okay. And then once it was signed, he was killed.
That's right.
By
my dad, Billy Birt.
By your dad, Billy Birt.
For Billy Wayne Davis.
For Billy Wayne Davis. Yep. And the man was shot.
The man was shot.
Put him in a closet and shot him.
No, I don't know about the closet.
According to something I read in the paper.
I do know that Billy Wayne paid him with cash.
Paid your dad with cash?
No, paid the man with cash.
Cash, right. And then once he killed him,
the money come right back to Billy Wayne.
Gotcha.
Do you know if his body was found? This individual's body was found?
I don't know.
Or your dad got rid of the body?
I don't know.
Okay.
One thing that Shane didn't tell you about is Billy broke into the Birt County Courthouse one time, and
Jackson County Courthouse.
Jackson County, okay. and got some, evidence and paperwork and indictments and destroyed them. And those cases were just delayed. Some were never tried, is that right?
In
That was in
Boone,
Stoney's book, wasn't it?
Yeah, what happened was, it was Harold and C.W. and Daddy and all of them. And, Daddy said that what happened was, they was going to jail, wasn't no way around it with evidence. So what he was gonna do was break in, so he got on top of the safe and was gonna bust down through it, and Daddy said, there's no way you can do that. He said, because you go an inch, you got rebar, you cut that rebar, go another inch, you go, oh, he said, it'd take you 10 years. So he took a cardboard box that a refrigerator come in, put against the refrigerator, put against the door so nobody couldn't see it, and had an oxygen mask for scuba divers, and actually used that to cut into the safe. So when he walked in, he just piled everything in the center and burned it, and got everybody out. But something, when we was in there, something that come my attention, and I can find out these two men's names. Daddy had a pool hall. It's right behind Hardy Reed's pool hall. We always reference. Then right behind it was a Tooney's pool hall, and Tooney had a couple of men running that out of Alabama. And Daddy, I always said that this was no good or whatever. Well, Bobby Connors was one of Daddy's friends, and Bobby was in there rolling dice, and said that he had won a pretty good bit of money, and said that he started to get up and leave. He told him, said, no, I said, don't leave, so we're going to get another game going. And said, Bobby said he stood there and waited around, they was giving him free beer and stuff like that. Well, Bobby got to noticing they was ushering everybody out except for him. And so Bobby told him, he said, well, I got to go use the bathroom. We'll go do something outside. And he said he started to walk out the door, and said the man caught him in the door, the frame of the door, and stuck a gun in his stomach. And said about that time, Daddy always parked in the alley beside the pool halls, and he heard Daddy's car crank up. Daddy was coming down the alley, and the guy told him, he said, you say something. He said, that'd been the worst mistake you ever made. And Bobby told me, he said, I thought to myself, he said, if I don't say something. So Daddy come out, and Bobby hollered, said, hey, Billy. Daddy said to him, Bobby Connor, he said, Billy, I really need to talk to you. Daddy said, come on, son. Well, naturally, they wasn't going to say nothing to Daddy. Well, Bobby got in the car, and they left. Bobby just told Daddy what they said, or what they just had done. And Daddy told him, he said, I told you not to mess with them. He said, they wasn't no good. He said, but I'll take care of them for you. Well, about 2 weeks later, Bobby said he was in the pool hall, and so Daddy walked up and said, them old boys bother you anymore. Bobby said, no, so I hadn't never heard nothing out of them again. Daddy said, well, you probably won't. And Bobby told me, he said, to this day, he said, I've never heard from him again.
You won't? No, I won't say it again, or he'll probably again.
And I got a friend who knows their names. His name's Darryl Wall. I can ask Darryl, because Darryl knows the story.
But it was Bobby Connor, though.
Yeah, Bobby Connors who.
But Bobby told you this story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no real way to estimate how many people really Sunday Birt has killed. The number is very hard to be specific about, but it's a lot of people.
You think it's more than 50, 60,
Yes.
or 8?
I do think it's more than 50. How many, I don't know. But again, it would be how many you could document. It is, Shane said today, 6 in Atlanta, 4 in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Montana, West Virginia, Virginia. We're looking at Texas, we're looking at, 12 to 14 out of state, but there's going to be a lot more out of state that we're not aware of. And then those in state, the ones in state, we're looking at numbers wise, over 50. So, yeah, I think the numbers are, high. It's a matter of all of us working together. Clearly, Stoney needs to be interviewed, and I'm certainly willing to do that. I've just got to, make contact with him and, see what he's got to say. But we're not here for one purpose, and we've already discussed that purpose. The purpose is to clear unsolved homicides, missing persons where foul play is suspected, and any, linkage for the sake of families to bring. I don't like the word closure. You never bring closure to a murder victim.
That's an overused word, isn't it?
But you allow people to know what happened, and then they have to reach their own way of. But the mere fact if you could determine that a suicide is a homicide and who's responsible, that would be a very good thing for a family. If we have to do follow-up, would you be willing to do that?
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, and the thing about it is, this is just as good for me, if not better, than it is for you. Simply because, just imagine you 16 years old, one of your best friends' daddy finds a body. You find out who that body is from 16 till a month, 2 months ago, till I met Phil. Nobody ever knew who that was. Not a living soul except for Daddy. And, just to be able to get some stuff off your chest.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's not to boast or brag what Daddy's done.
No.
Nothing like that.
You never struck me as that kind of a person.
The coolest thing about my dad, and I tell him churches the whole time, is the fact of him being who he was, knowing what those hands have done, but yet being able to join hands with that man and listen to him pray. And my son, my son will never know anything other than his pawpaw praying. That's it.
How old's your son now?
He's 20.
20.
Yep.
He's in college?
He is.
Where?
North Georgia.
Here in Watauga?
No, he is.
Gainesville?
No, he is in the Oconee branch.
Oconee.
Yeah, he starts at.
Gotcha.
He starts at. He finishes his junior at Gainesville. Then he's got to transfer to UGA for his senior year.
Good for you. Now, what do you currently do?
I own a construction company. We and that's what I tell everybody. I don't know what the dope has done to me inside personally. I don't know if I've taken years off my life or anything like that. But as far as me personally, and it used to be after me and my wife got back together, it was just monetary. What dope had done to me. Well, now it's not even monetary. If you look at me and my wife and my kids, you would never ever dream that we had the past that we had. And that's been in business for 1 year. I couldn't get a bank to give us a loan, not because of our credit or anything like that, just because it's the sign of the times. So we ended up having to buy all our equipment up front, and we just paid for it as we went. So here we are, by the grace of God, after the first year, we got our company, and all our equipment's completely paid for. So. And, oh yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments before I cut the recorder off?
What was that right there?
That's my dad's testimony.
Oh, his testimony, his Christian testimony.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got
I
you.
wanted to ask you about, you mentioned, and Shane didn't know anything about this, but I knew Fred Jones, who was mayor of Goliath.
Right.
And I've heard that it was ruled suicide, but I never heard that it is suspected that he might have been killed.
Well, see, he was connected to C.W. Royster from the car business.
Okay.
And that adds suspicion.
Okay. probably, I mean.
I wouldn't mention that for the reason being that there's nothing other than speculation.
Yeah, that's what I'm
There's
saying.
no real factual basis to say it was a homicide.
Right.
Well, and something else too about CW, and I'll go ahead and finish this story too. And it's got to do with, the only thing I know it had to do with the axe, is this right here. I've heard all my life that it was CW. And then I heard one time it was for a man by the name of John that Reese Spencer turned my daddy on to. But the man whose body was found, and it was found in the 80s. Jackson County Sheriff picked it up, and they couldn't find the head. What happened there was, they was going to trial the day or the next day or or whenever, and so Daddy told him $10,000 because the man was supposedly been in protective custody. Well, Daddy didn't have any other recourse but to wait at the man's house with a rifle. And Daddy said he waited there for day after day after day. Said the very last day, so the man shows up. It was a trailer now. Daddy said he showed up to the trailer, got out of the car, and Daddy shot him. And shot him with a rifle. And buries him on the river. And goes to the man's house that hired him. Daddy said it was about 11 o'clock. And said the man come to the door and told Daddy, said, listen, said, I told you not to come to this house. And Daddy said, well, so you go to trial tomorrow. He says, so if if you still go to prison, he said, I want my money now. And he said, well, I'm not going to pay you till I know the man's dead. Well, Daddy goes back, takes an axe, digs the man up, cuts the man's head off, buries him back, puts the head in a trash bag, goes back to the man's house. About an hour later, the man comes to the door, rang the raven again. And he said, I told you I wasn't going to pay you till I know he's dead. And Daddy said, well, here. And said the man was still fussing, and Daddy told him, he said, if you know what's good for you, he said, you'll look in the bag. Well, Daddy wasn't going to kill that man because he owed him $10,000. So the man looked in the bag, seen the man's head, and threw the bag down. And that head is in Mud Lake, coming from Brownston to Winder, Houston to Winder. You go through the S-curves. Then said he stopped and threw the head in the lake. And so the man met him at 9 the next morning when the bank opened and paid him.
Yeah, he's lucky he paid him.
Yeah.
$10,000. So,
$10,000.
but you think he did that though, he paid him for CW though, because it was CW that was going to be,
going to
who he was going to be testifying against?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. When was that? I know you said that the body was found in the 80s, and that was without the head.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We don't have any idea who that is.
Had to be in the early 70s.
Early 70s.
He was running wide open, boy, from the late 60s to the early 70s.
Yeah.
Wide open. I think
On this tape that Shane has,
They say
Steve Chronic had loaned to me. We always thought Billy started killing people in the late 60s, but he said
in 61.
61. He told his police.
But the thing about it is, that corresponds with the first one he asked me about.
Dublin. Yeah,
So that would have been early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a good 10 years period he was killing folks. The early 60s, the early 70s. That's my thought.
Okay.
But I don't have much knowledge, have a lot of knowledge of the 70s because I was around working, but the 60s, I was around, but I wasn't in
You
law
weren't up
enforcement.
here, right?
No, I was in the Marine Corps then. But yeah, anything else we want to ask in terms of cases?
Not how you think of right now. you covered all the ones that I had pulled,
Right,
you know what I mean?
right. I'd say-
Specifically,
Yeah.
and these other ones.
And, you know, there'll be more, and that's why I say, do we do a follow-up?
Follow-up.
When we have more to talk about right now, I think we've covered what we need to cover.
Yeah. I'm good to come back if I need to.
Yeah, well, we all will. 1:50 p.m. On April 30th, and that concludes our interview with the 4 people present.
Was Mud Creek too, right?
Mud Lake.
Mud Lake.